Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Angela Brennan and today I am going to be showing you how I make a gift card set for her. Basically it's card for girls, but I'm going to be packaging it and giving it as a Christmas gift to someone. This is also part of my Altenew Educators Certification Program Level 1 Final Challenge. So I'm going to be using the Majestic Bouquet set. Now this is a large 6x8 stamp set, and I thought there are many possibilities because I want to make 5 cards and I want to use 5 different techniques, but I want to keep it the same color palette. Now I'll come to the color palette in a second. So this is the large stamp. It's got 2 main flowers with a lot of layering components and a scattering of leaves. It also comes with a coordinating die, which is great, and a 3D embossing folder. So I'm going to be doing some techniques with embossing folder. I'm also going to be doing some layered stamping, die cutting, 5 different cards. Now the most important thing that I want to coordinate with also his set of, which is the guy set of cards, which is going to be my next video, is going to be the color palette. So I had a little bit of difficulty. So I decided to go and look at color palettes online. And this is what I found. So with that color palette, I decided to scour all my Altenew inks and see what inks matched. So as you can see, it's a bit of a trial and error because it's from different sets as well. So it's not all from one set. So this is from the Seashore set, and then I had Butternut and Pumpkin Pie from one set. A little bit of trial and error, and finally came up with this color palette. So this is the color palette I'm going to be using for this set of cards, as well as my next video when I'm going to get a set of guy cards. Set of his cards rather. So this is going to be what I'll be using. I'll be mixing and matching. It doesn't mean I'll use every single color in all 5 cards, but this is the general color palette for this gift card set. And I'll show you the inks that I chose. These are the inks I'm going to be using, all Altenew inks. Some of it are mini cubes, but most of them are oval sets, so it's easier to stamp on the bigger stamps. So let me show you. My first card is going to be stamping and layering, and some masking as well. To do my layered stamping, I'm going to use my Misty. I just find that easier because if I want the color to be a little bit darker, I can double stamp. So that's what I'm preferring to use. However, using acrylic box to do your stamping is also fine, but this is my preferred method. So I'm going to start with this big flower. I'm going to do the outline. Now one of the colors I didn't include in my color palette is the Silver Lake. This is a very light gray ink which I'm going to use just for the outline of my stamps because I want to get a no line stamping effect. So I find this quite good. If I use the obsidian black, it's quite stark, and yes, that's one look you could get. But for this card, I want to use this for the outlines. So let's get started. I always rub the image this outline image is not as bad, but if it's quite a solid image, using an eraser just to prep the surface is good. So you actually allow the inks to be absorbed quite well. Especially if it's a new stamp, you'd want to prep the surface so the ink is absorbed and you'll get a nice clear image. Now, the image is quite light here, but it doesn't really matter because what the aim is here just to give me a guide as to where to do my layered stamping. Now, you don't really need the outline to do that. You could just not use the outline at all, and that will be in one of my subsequent cards. I'll show you that that method on doing it. So now, in order to because I want to stamp the next flower and the leaves all around, so I'm going to do some masking. I cut the mask down to size. Put it back where I had it. I don't need a particularly crisp image for this, but enough to just cut the outline. That's really all I'm looking for here. Here you can see the image enough to cut the outline. So one of the tips when you're cutting, fussy cutting as they call it, I'm not sure where that term came from, you move the paper, not your scissors. I mean, you could use a small scissors, but I'm kind of used to this scissors. I do have a small scissors and I tried with it, and I think because I'm used to using a big scissors for so long, I've just gotten used to this. But use whatever scissors you're comfortable with and just move the paper. That just makes it so much easier. You get a smoother cut. You can stop, you can look at it, and then if it's too much, you can even just cut away this element, the overhangs, and you can start again. But keep moving your paper to get this nice smooth cut, and it's a lot easier. And cut into the outline a little bit, so when you stamp you don't have a halo effect. Now that this is ready, I just need to place it over the image before I stamp my second flower and the subsequent leaves around it. Having a stamp chamois around when you're doing your layered stamping is invaluable. I added masks, my previous masks, on all of the items there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some ink blending before I do my layered stamping. So I'm going to take the chamomile, this little stamp here. I'm going to take my small blending tool and just blend a little bit. Now to do some stamping, and before I do the stamping, I'm going to remove all of the masks. I'm going to store the masks on the storage of the plastic storage of the stamp set, so I can use it again when I have another project that needs masks. You could actually just leave it like this and put a sentiment here, or you could even ink blend with various colors, rainbow colors, or even colors that you've chosen here, these colors. But I'm going to do some layered stamping. The layered stamping is easy to do because on the stamp sheet itself, it's labeled. So you see this is A1, and the next one is labeled A2, and the next one is labeled A3, A4, and so on. So you just need to follow step by step. Now you don't need to use every single layer. You can choose which layers you want to use and which layers you don't want to use. That's totally a personal preference. It's relatively straightforward to line up the images. There's clear layering guides here, so you just need to follow that and you can see how to line up the image. So all I do is follow the layering guide, and you just need to choose the colors you want to use. So here, and the thing you need to do is make sure you look right over the image. Stand up, look right over the image, and line up your stamp. What's the mistake I made here? I forgot to put the masking on. Right, there's a way around it since I've already done quite a lot. I'm just going to stamp another flower, die cut it, and pop it up. So I'm just going to continue. And now, before I continue with the leaves, I need to mask this flower. So with the leaves, there are quite a few variations. So I'm going to actually use some really muted colors for that. That wasn't in my list here, but I think I want to use some muted colors for it. This has only got one layer, so I'm going to put the lighter layer and I'm going to take the darker layer and just go on the sides like that. So you just get with one layer you can get two tones. This looks absolutely hideous at the moment. I'm going to re-stamp this, die cut it, and we'll see where we get to. So here I've stamped the image again and die cut it, but because it's got a white thing, I actually used the blending tool and just blended a little bit of yellow on the side so that it's not so stark white, just so that it'll blend a little bit. It's not quite there, but it's better than not having that white stark image. So here I'm going to just pop it up a bit. Now this panel I've cut it down to 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, just a little bit smaller than a A2 size card. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this up. So I've put this here. I'm going to draw a line here so I know where to put the image, the pop-up dimension. I put some dimension from foam squares on it to give it some dimension, but I've also put some liquid glue on the foam squares so that when I actually put it onto the image, it gives me some wiggle room. If not, it just stick on, and if it's wrong, it's hard to move it about. So with the liquid glue, you get some wiggle room, you get some time to adjust it. And there you go. And I turn it around and I just cut the overhang. And that's the mistake corrected. So now I'm going to complete this card. In order to do that, I've got some foam tape here, which I've some fun foam here, which I've put double-sided tape on, and I'm going to put it onto this card panel so it will give it some dimension. When I attach something onto a card panel, even a fun foam, or even when I attach the card onto the card base, I always like to put the double-sided tapes in tabs like that, so I've got some control. So I can hold on to the tabs and I can place it. So look directly above the card panel and you can place it over the card. So this way you won't have any mishaps. There you go. Perfectly placed. This is a A2 side folding card, and again I'm using the tab method to lay it directly onto the card. It's a white on white card. And in fact, before I lay this, I'm going to put a black mat on it because I want to put a black sentiment, and I'm going to put a black mat on it first. Let me get a black mat. This is what I mean by a black mat. So basically a black background. So I've opened up the A2 card. I'm going to match up the edges. I'm looking over it, over the camera. So make sure I really match it up. Hold on to it and pull the tabs. Tabs down. And the same thing here, I'm going to center it. And now for the sentiment. I like having a sentiment like have a super day. It can be have a super day, happy birthday, have a super day, good luck on the first day of your job. So it's quite versatile that way. In my second card, I'm only going to use the outlines to create a shaker card. So I'm going to stamp it all over with the outlines, and then I'm going to create a shaker in the middle with one of the shape dies. I missed out a portion of the video because it didn't quite record. So what I did is, because I wanted to cut a window here, so I used my Misty and I stamped wherever I stamped it, where it's going to be the middle, I stamped onto teal card and I embossed with white embossing powder because I wanted it to be in exactly the same place. And this is going to be this is where my window is going to be. But I'm not going to use this as the window. I'm going to use a crystal frame, an Altenew crystal frame. I'm going to use this. So the reason I made this bigger is because I wanted it to be, I didn't want to fiddle about with this little one and make sure it fit for the shaker window. So I'm just going to use that. So again, I'm going to find the middle. In order to find the middle, I'm going to draw a cross from either side to find the middle. I don't want to use this frame because I want the frame to be in teal color. So I'm going to cut the frame in teal color. So for any shaker, you would need an acetate. I'm not going to use an acetate. I'm going to use a transparency film. Well, those days when you use OHPs, you had a transparency film. They're cheaper than an acetate, so I'm just going to use that. So this is like the transparency film. I'm going to put that here. That's the shaker element available. Now we just need to put double-sided foam at the back to give it a space for the shaker. Remove the backing of the double-sided foam, or the foam tape, so it's easier to go around. Now the shaker bit is ready. Let's use this as a guide. So now I need to find out which way is it going to be. There. I just need it to be roughly in the right area. So when this goes in, it'll match up. The design will match up. Albeit this is in color and this is going to be in embossed white. Yeah, just thought it would be nice. So there's two ways I can do this. I can either do it this way or put it and do it this way. If I put it here, I can put more gems. The thing about shakers is when you put it all in there, then when you hold the card up, gravity will push all the shaker elements down. So I'm going to stick a few, just a few, here. This is what it looks like. That's nice and full. So you see when it goes down like that, you can still see some gems at the top, but this is nice and full. So even when it's down, it's still quite, at least 2/3 full. I love it. I thought the outline images could do with some shading. So I got these colors, all Prisma colors, and I chose a few colors. And I'm going to just do light shading, very light shading. See what a difference it makes. So some coloring, just some flick of color, not the whole thing, just some shadows here and there, made a difference to the card. And the stamping here just a little bit. There's a bit of difference as well. For my third card, I'm going to use the Majestic Bloom 3D Embossing Folder. But I'm not just going to use it as a background as I normally would. But what I've done here is I've actually already layered and die cut a few leaves and of the main flower. So this embossing folder only has the big flower. It doesn't have the smaller flower. It doesn't have all the leaves. It only has some of these leaves. So what I'm going to do, I am going to put this flower inside the embossing folder and emboss it. So you've got all the colors, the layered colors, and then you're going to have dimension with the embossing. So you just need to look at the front like this and just align it to the image like this. Hold it, close it, put it through your machine, your embossing machine. And what you get, can you see the dimension you get? That's beautiful, isn't it? I just love the dimension. So you get the layered color, you get the dimension. I'm going to do the same thing with the leaves. So I've placed the card in my MISTI, and I want to stamp a couple of stamps directly onto the base card. So I'm going to just pick it up in my MISTI doll. And I'm going to use some warm grey tones. So this is, I'm going to use evening grey. Just want a light shadow, so it's like it's behind, quite a bit behind in the card. So I'm just stamping the intermediate layers, not the outline, not the final layer. I'm just going to stamp one layer. I think the warm grey goes well with the color of the flower, which is quite a warm color as well. So that's the arrangement I want. So this is called a press and seal. It's used, actually it's a kitchen product to seal your food, but it's got one smooth side and one side that is slightly sticky. So I'm going to use that to pick up all of my arrangement. So you just need to press. You can reuse this press and seal a few times until the stickiness goes away. So this way I can keep my arrangement in place. I'll tip it over and I will use my liquid glue. I'm going to give it a few splatters. I'm going to use the Altenew Jetpack spray. I added some antique gold sequins from Altenew, as well as Hugs die cut in black from the Halloween Hugs die set. Oops, and I need to cut the overhang of these leaves. Always better to cut from the back of the card, so you know, so you're not going to cut into the card. Retip there. So yeah, that's the third card. This card I'm going to be stamping just the outline stamp in black. So this is a card panel that measures the same size as an A2 card panel. So it's 5.5 inches by 4.25 inches. I'm going to stamp the outline flowers and leaves and mask them and ink blend the background. So you get the flowers and leaves left uncolored, but the background is colored. I thought that would be a nice look, or different look using the same stamps. For this technique, I'm going to be using Distress Oxide inks. If I had pigment inks, I'd use pigment inks, but I want something that can blend very easily and quite doesn't dry as quickly. So I'm going to do a graduation of the color. I'm going to start with scattered straw. So I've got some Peacock Feathers Distress Oxide ink here. I'm going to put it against the white on white embossing. I backed the panel with some fun foam, and now I'm going to just, it's easy to hold the tabs and lay it on. I finished the card off with some antique gold sequins, and that's the card. I embossed using the embossing folder, just a black card. This card is going to be really simple. I'm going to splatter some white splatters and put a sentiment. I backed it with some fun foam to give it some dimension. I layered the hello with 3 layers, so there is a little bit of sturdiness to it. Added some satin gold gems, and that's the card done. So for my final card, I decided to use glitter. Now I did this, I stamped and glittered this image off camera, but the technique I used to do this, I will link to a video in the description below where you can see how I achieved this. So now to assemble this card, I'm going to use the Altenew fine frame square, and I die cut a square on an A2 panel. I will not be needing this too, I just wanted the square. And the intention is to put this behind. It's going to be a very simple card, but before I put that behind, I want to, what do I want to do? I want to do some inking. So I'm just going to put a dot here, a dot here, a dot here, and a dot here, because I want to know where I need to ink. I'm going to use the chamomile color because I want to have a yellow background. Before I adhere this, I'm going to put a sentiment here. The sentiment is going to come from the Beautiful Quotes. I really like this sentiment here that says, where was it? A smile is a curve that sets everything straight. That's the one I'm going to use. So let me get organized. Now I should have put the sentiment in before placing the transparency there. So I just removed it because I'd like to heat emboss my sentiment. I put some cellophane tape there because I don't want it to ink up the element, that the name at the bottom, Feliz Della, So I'm going to just stamp it with obsidian black ink. Then I'm going to remove this. There you have it. A nice shiny card with a very simple sentiment. I didn't want to put any gems on this because I thought the shininess of the card should be the star of the card. This is the final card for the gift set of cards for her. Now that I've made all my cards, this is the packaging I'm going to use. The packaging, so this is an A6 box. Previously, pre-pandemic, I used to buy my A6 card, which I could get from a place called Paper Mill, and you could just go get these boxes and fill up your entire box with card, and it's $9.99 per box. They've also got an A4 size, but I used to store some craft things in here, so clearly I've got rid of those, and I'm going to use this box as my packaging. Now, to make it prettier, I'm going to get a belly band for this box. The belly band is going to be a strip of card. The belly band means I can wrap it around the cover of the box. So this is a strip of card about just over 3 inches by 10 inches. And then I'm going to use my score pen, and I'm going to make some score marks to accommodate this bend and this bend here. So on both sides. So score pen, and I'm going to use my scoring tool. I'm going to make the first mark at 1/1/8 of an inch. 1/1/8 of an inch. Then at 2.5 inches. So this is the thickness of the height of the cover. And this is the front of the cover, which is about 5 inches. So I'm at 2.5 here. And the next score is going to be at 7.5 inches. And the next score at 8/7/8 of an inch. 8/7/8 of an inch. 8/7/8. And there you go. Before I did the scoring, I should have done some stamping. I want to do some stamping here. So let's see what we do. The shadows of the flowers and leaves, just like I did it in one of the cards. And then I used a sentiment from the Label Love, stamped it with obsidian pigment ink, and embossed it with clear embossing powder to get a shine, and just attached it. I've also put some double-sided tape on strategic areas so that it doesn't look very obvious when you open the cover. But I also put some in the middle here because I've got some plans on how it's going to look in the middle. So let me remove some of this tape and see how I'm going to attach it. I've removed some of the tape, some of the backing from the tape. I've left the ones on the sides because I removed that last. So I want to just place that in the middle. This is the middle. And there you have it. So I can put all the cards in here. That's the gift. Let me show you the cards one by one. This is the card where I did some masking and some ink blending with Distress Oxide inks. This one, some layering. Forgot to put the mask in it to adhere a die cut flower. And here I changed the flower up, and I also put the final bit, I did some embossing with gold embossing powder. This card, I did some ink layering, then die cut it, and then put it through the embossing folder so you can see the embossing dimensions here. This card, I just embossed it on a black card using the 3D embossing folder. Die cut the hello and put the Hawaii all from the Hello and Hugs stamp set and die cut. This is the shaker card. Did some embossing, embossing at the back. And I love the fact that I did this shaker card. And in order to get more sequins in it, you put the sequin embellishments in the shaker bit, not on the bit that you're going to place the overall card on. So you get the maximum amount of shaker embellishments in it. And finally, this is the glitter card, which I made as the final card. So all these cards, how I'm going to package it is, I'm going to put it into these little packets, poly packs, so they don't get damaged. So I'm going to put one card in and an envelope in it. And it's easy enough to remove this and just this way the card remains, it will not be damaged. And here are all the cards that I've put into the poly packs, and it's just nice. I'll not cover it with the. And this is my gift card set of cards for her. I hope you enjoyed the video and give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing and do press the notification bell so you're alerted when a new video is uploaded. If you enjoyed any of the techniques, please let me know, and do put it on social media with the hashtag #SpreadingHandmadeCheer. That's the hashtag that I use when I put all my cards on Instagram. I would love to see what you create. If you've got any questions, just put a question in the commentary either in the YouTube channel or in my blog. The link to my blog is in the description below. In the meantime, happy crafting. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll catch you at my next video. Take care.